Good evening, all. It's Monday night and it's Airfix and Chill. Hello, everybody. We got 70 already watching. Wow, it's brilliant. A few in the chat. Anyways, I hope you've all had a good weekend. AFC Nuggets just said, as always, wishing yourself, Moz, and the panel and all in chat a relaxing evening. Yeah, hopefully it'll be more relaxing than last week, but hey ho. We will we'll move on from that. I hope all is well in the chat. If you've got a question, obviously put question in capitals or QQQ.
Yeah.
If you have a comment in capitals or CCC, and we'll try to get them on the screen. And obviously, super chats get priority as well. So because that helps pay for the software. Because at the moment I'm getting feck all from AdSense because I've had it banned or had it suspended pending an investigation. But hey ho, hope all is well. Anyways, nice that you're back, Luke. You can't be working site then. You must having a chilled evening, is it?
A night off, mate.
Night off. Saving the world. One ambulance trip at a time. Zinzan's been doing bits and pieces with his did you go on a was it Chipmunk? You went on the one of Chipmunk, was it? What were you on this
Tiger Moth, yeah.
Tiger Moth.
Tiger.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, it's pretty good actually. And I came back because the pilot was even though the pilot was a Ryanair fellow, I got back all right.
Yeah.
Where did you fly from? It wasn't Dunkerswell, was it?
No, it was Duxford, IWM.
Oh,
There's
fair play.
All right.
There's a company called Classic Wings that have got 4 Tiger Moths.
Wow.
And probably one of the nicest looking aircraft in the whole wide world, which is the de Havilland Dragon Rapide.
Wow.
You can fly a state off circuit on that, or you can arrange to fly into London. And they'll float it around for you. But it's a lovely looking little aircraft.
Oh, fair play. Fair play.
Yeah, no, it was great fun, and I thoroughly recommend it. It's worthwhile doing.
Is it cheap enough?
I think it was a present, so because as you know, I'm in my very late 20s now, just like John Alec.
No, John's still a teenager.
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
It's John Alec goes backwards. He was born old, and now he's getting younger and younger and younger.
That's what it will be.
Yeah,
then,
in a minute we'll look down and he'll see his umbilical cord popping out. So yeah, he gets.
Being 110, that was rough, man. I'm so glad to now just be 57.
No, he's the aging like the guy in 2001.
Yeah.
What was the character from the book? Benjamin Button, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
But John, you've been pushed on with this. Is it this? Were you building a Saladin or something? Not Saladin. What was it you were building? Matador, wasn't it? You were building?
Not a Matador.
What was it you were building?
Well, right now, actually, I've got 2 things going. I've got the Eagle 4. I've got the Paladin going, but lately the Mastiff 2. Maybe that's what you're thinking.
Yeah.
The Mastiff 2, and that's amazing kit. It's already got to be in one of my top 5 kits I've ever worked with.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah, fair enough.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I can't put it down. I literally cannot put it down. I can't stop working on it.
Yeah. Neil J. Bamford, any ideas what Airfix surprise least will be at Telford this year? I'll tell you what it's not going to be. It's going to be the Stalwart, but we're going to talk about that later. I had an email this week. I'll just jump on quick because I thought we'd get moving. I will ask others anyway. The first test shots of the Revell 132nd Meteor have Luke sent me a link to show them off. Obviously it is exactly what it says on the tin. It's just the screenshots of it, but what I'm seeing is some very, very crisp, nice detail on the parts that have been manufactured. Talking to him, he said that they've had a couple built and it fits well together. Now, obviously, Luke Revell hasn't got it into the hands of us scale modelers yet, but he asked if we'd be willing to show off the pictures. I said, yeah, of course, just send them along. And but how many are here are looking forward to a 1/32 Meteor? Because it's got to be quite a plane, isn't it? At 1/32 scale. Don't you agree? It's got to be quite a nice width to it as well.
I think there'll be quite a lot. Yeah, I think there'll be quite a lot of interest in something like this. Purely from the perspective that the F8 is quite rare. There aren't very many examples around left. And the only really one you can see in this country would be perhaps the F8 prone position testing aircraft at Cosford. It is quite an attractive looking aircraft, to be honest with you, with the stubby wings and so on. So yeah, I think it will.
I'm getting closer here. Let me just check. Looking at the detail of it, it does look pucker. It really does. But it's going to be £100, isn't it, for this version? Because it's going to be the special version, isn't it?
Yeah, 129.
Yeah.
Nice looking cast molds on there, aren't they?
Yeah.
I like the look of that.
I thought there was a crack there, or a hairline on that one there. You can see it around those the three holes. I thought there might be a little crack there, but maybe it's just a hair. One of Luke's beard hairs is falling out on top of it. You know what I mean? So, but you know, I would if when this goes on pre-order, I'm half tempted to whack a £100 on it and have a look and see. But I think this is something that they've been developing, and also you've got the engine. You can build the engine on a stand, can't you? On this one, allegedly.
Yeah, this is something that Revell did with their 148 SR71. You can elect to have these. Well, in fact, you can build two engines on that one. So it's a nice little touch.
Yeah. The sort of thing you would build, Luke?
No,
it's not your.
I mean, I think it will be popular, as Zinzan said, because it will generate a lot of interest. But for me, on a personal level, it is absolutely not my cup of tea.
Not your cup of tea, no.
Not at all, no.
Okay. What about you, Alex? Gonna have a couple of these in your shop?
I probably will. Like Luke, it's not really something that interests me personally. I think if 1/32 is your scale, this is great. But a Meteor already is quite well served in 1/48 scale.
Yeah.
And it's quite a chunk of an aircraft, even in 1/48. So, and the price point, obviously, kind of doubles in price, or more than doubles in price, to get that extra scale. There are a few parts of this, because overall I think it looks really nice, the engraved detail and stuff. There are a few little Revelisms I noticed in the tooling, on the engines and in the wheelbase. The details, what I would say, is a little soft.
Yeah,
I like that.
For that price point. And if you really zoom into those pictures, you can see the alignment of some of the tools for the actual injection molding gates. So the sprues rather than the parts.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter, but it's a bit misaligned somewhere, and it's just like I just noticed a few of those things, and I wonder about the longevity of that. But I think this is an actual package, £120 or whatever it ends up as, when we get it. Because you get a book with this as well. You get photo etch. You get master work. Yeah, this is what I mean about the Revelisms. You see the detail on those parts on the left of the engine. There are a little bit. They're not 120. What I would expect for £120 worth of kit. You think of the engine in the 124 scale Spitfire. You think of the Tamiya F-35. It's good.
Yeah,
it's not quite. I would say it's an 8 out of 10 rather than if you set Tamiya and kind of some of the most latest ICM and Airfix kits as kind of 10. I
Yeah.
would say it's getting there, but
Yeah.
a bit like
looks like
Collieri's 205.
it looks like the tool. It looks like the engine's tooling is from a 1992 or 93 Tamiya Meteor.
Yeah.
The
F1.
The F1, yeah.
Oh.
No, the F1 was a Trent engine. This is a Derwent, so it would have to be different.
Yeah.
It would.
Sorry,
it would have to be
counting
different,
again.
It's not looks bad, and obviously, unless you're really displaying the engine separately, it makes not a ha'porth of difference.
Yeah.
But then, look at the price point. I think it will be, like Luke said, I think it'll be popular. I think it will have its followers, especially the 30-second scale. I think it's popular with a certain section of the community. I think
you're absolutely right, and I don't think anyone can deny that aircraft modeling is by far the most popular genre. And there's a lot of people that build aircraft, and they only build aircraft. They don't touch any other genre. And there is quite a big following of the 30-second scale aircraft. There's whole SIGs dedicated to large-scale aircraft, etc. So it will be popular, and I think Revell will do well with it. But I don't think it's necessarily a mainstream kit at that price point. Because if someone's got that sort of money to spend on an aircraft kit, I think they're much more likely to go down the Tamiya Lightning route.
Yes.
Et cetera, because the confidence in the brand is there. If people are spending £100, that's not a small amount of money, is it, to spend on a model kit? And I think people will lean more to the mainstream. I'm talking about, not the 30-second die-hard aircraft builders. They'll buy it. They will buy it. But I think the mainstream will lean more towards trusted brands, such as the Airfix Spitfire, the Tamiya Lightning. There's other options out there at that price point.
1/32 scale, though, is one of those kits that you would invest your time in because of it, but you've got to have a passion for it. Like, I wouldn't build per se a 1/32 Sopwith plane, but I would build a 1/32 Bearcat. Do you know what I mean? There's and if Meteor is your thing, you would go out and buy it, and you would even build a 1/24 because that is your thing. Yeah.
I think if you want this edition, it's worth getting it quick because they're only making 3,000 of the first edition ones. Undoubtedly, they will re-release it. They're going to release it again as not this pack. It'll be at a cheaper price point. So it's not like you're going to miss it. But in this format, they'll get through those 3,000 kits. I don't have any shadow of that, and pretty quickly, I imagine. I mean, look, like you're saying, they're showing there, Moss. You've got 5 pretty nice decal schemes in this. Quite varied, different nations. Some of them quite colourful. So I think there's quite a lot to appeal.
Especially the Belgian one.
Versions. There's quite a lot to be said for it.
Yeah, that Belgian one is a bit special, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that Belgian one is very special. It'd be a bitch to mask up, though, wouldn't it, to get that orange right? But if you need an orange, I do a very good orange. Royal National Lifeboat orange. That was perfect colour for that, I tell you.
I like the orange.
Yeah.
I'll probably use a whole pot of outlaw orange as well with the size of it.
Yeah.
No. Do you want a good tip for priming before you put orange paint onto a kit?
Go on then, John.
Prime it in desert sand first, and the orange comes out a treat.
Not many primers at desert sand, though, mate.
No, but you can use ordinary paint. It just comes out absolutely beautiful, honestly.
Yeah, I know pink's another one. Pink's good.
Yeah, it would probably work on pink as well, quite well.
Yeah.
You're using lacquer. Alex mentioned this on one of his streams. If you're using lacquer paints that will kind of bite into the into the plastic. I think that's how we refer to it. You can use a lacquer. What was it, desert yellow or desert sand?
Desert sand is the best color for an orange.
Desert sand. I'll have to remember that. Yeah.
We've got a yappy dog.
Or something.
That was me. That was Pablo.
Oh, is it?
He's now been brought in.
Fair enough.
Yeah, if you're painting orange, LP16, which is obviously lacquer, is a great primer coat for orange. Make it pop.
Tummy and flat flesh, people are saying as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that? Sorry, Travis. Revell kits are always cheaper. Early on too, I paid $60 for the 30-second Tempest. Now it's $150. Same with the 262. Yeah, but they bring out these kits, don't they? Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, they build a standard one and then a platinum edition with bits, whereas they kind of do it in reverse here, which I think is probably a good idea.
Yeah, we released this Meteor in about 2045. Put it in a new box, call it new. That's what they'll do.
That's what they'll do. Oh, it's a new box. Well, it is in a new box because they're redesigning the boxes, aren't they? So I think they're going to be a bit like the Hella ones where they flap open, don't they, at the top?
Yeah.
They're going to pack them with tissue as well.
I don't front. No.
Yeah, nice. Wrap it in black tissue paper. You feel like you're getting a premium product.
Worst packaging ever.
I still don't understand that. We were talking about this, that Airfix did it with their Spitfire Mark 9, right? The 124th. But it was just the wings. But when Revell did it, it had all the bits and everything sticking up. So they were, you put paper in between plastic and it does that. The paper's just going to rip, isn't it? And the spike's going to go through and catch your side.
I haven't built many Hella kits, to be fair.
No,
the last Hella kit I built was that tractor that you sent me, Mars, but obviously that didn't come in the box as such. The one in the box before that was I forget the name of it. It's the French like delivery van.
The Citroen 2CV thing.
And to be fair, it's not a great kit, but it's not awful. But when I opened the box, it was all wrapped in like this black tissue paper, and you did feel like you were opening a sort of premium product. So it kind of worked for about 45 seconds, and then I looked at the sprues and went, "Oh dear."
Yeah, that's what happened.
You kind of get the like, oh, it's like getting a present, and then you're like, but they're not in bags, and it's just like, and they look crap.
But it would work if the boxes fitted the sprues. When you've got that movement, you know, you've got no chance. I understand why they're doing it, but I really don't.
Isn't it something to do with shelf real estate for retail? The size of the box? Isn't it something? So they don't make the boxes to fit the kit. It's something to do with in the retail environment when they're palletized for distribution, etc.
That's right.
It's something to do with the size of the box and how many they can put on a pallet, shelf real estate, etc., etc.
I don't know, because not a single manufacturer makes bloody boxes the same size.
But then again, Revell used to scale their kits to fit a certain box size. If you look back in the 1950s and 60s, when you had 1 to 56 and 1 to 49 scale, it was in fact to fit the kit, to fit the box.
Surely there's got to be a reason behind that, because you would think it's much more expensive to scale a kit to fit a box size than it is to make a box to fit a certain. Surely,
I think that back in the day, you know, I think
it was originally, and we're talking like 40s, 50s time. There was no established set of scales for a lot of things, so they made a certain box and they made the tools to that size. Right. So that's kind of a standardized cost. Yeah. You know, all the tools are going to be that big. And then it just happens that the kit is like, oh, yeah, this is 1/219th. It's only one to 47th.
But wasn't Airfix the company that standardized on certain scales? They were the first company to do it, weren't
I
they?
don't know. I think Frog did actually.
It was Frog.
Yeah,
It
but
was Frog
Airfix. I'm talking
Yeah.
about injection molded kits.
Yeah, Frog was standardized 1/72nd.
Yeah.
But they didn't do a lot of 148. There was mostly 1/72nd, wasn't it?
1/72nd in the 50s.
Yeah.
But Airfix brought the first injection molded kits on the market.
I will just on the flip side of that though, that was why Revell had all these weird scales back in the day.
Yeah.
And when I did the video of the rarest Revell kits and I was talking about it, in the comments a lot of people were saying, and then when you got a lot of people saying it kind of means it's true, like, innit? You know, they were producing the kits to fit the box. Now, with I know shouting. I know of a railway company, model railway company called Ratio Plastic Models in the 80s, and they didn't make the tools fit, but they didn't change the scale, but they made sure that when they produced these kits for the 00 gauge, they would fit in a certain size box, because the box used to come with a clear transparent hole in it. And what they would do is they would stick a picture inside the circle of what was in the box, and then just put a gold label on the side saying what it is, or this is a signal box, or this is a wooden carriage, if you know what I mean. And the size, they just had one basic size of box, and that was back in the 80s, in the 90s.
I think Luke's right about the real estate issue, because if all the boxes are a certain size, they'll fit on a pallet.
Well, I've always said that,
which means you can fill a container up a lot easier.
Well, what I don't understand, see, like Airfix do this, don't they? So the box can go on the edge like that.
Yeah.
What I've never understood is that the warning signs are that way, and then you twist it that way, and then you get the scheme. So if you put it on the shelf like that, surely that's going to scratch the box up, pushing it out of the shelf. Surely they should have been that way around.
The idea behind that is when the box is upright and you've got the lid facing the customer, you can tilt it down and see.
Oh, see, I see now.
Which is why they put it upside down on that side of the box, so it's the right way up.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's literally what you just did there, Moss, where you tipped it went to look at it.
I understand now, yeah.
I saw a video once that Airfix produced many, many years ago, and they were explaining about all of that. And
which I think is amusing, because it's like, having worked in a lot of companies in product development, you think about how you think a customer is going to interact with your product and how they actually interact with the product. I've never seen a customer do that once.
Yeah, but it's also an issue with how you
when you put it down like this, you go like that.
Shelves, Alex.
Yeah, no, I bet at the top of on every single shelf in my shop, at the top shelf, they are all arranged like that, regardless of manufacturer. So you can see, because they're a big, drawer. Not one time have I ever seen a customer take a kit down and do that, what you've just done with that box.
So I do it. I was just thinking, that's what the first thing I did. If I'm looking at a kit and I'm going, no.
You tilt it down and have a look, and there it is. It's the right way up,
I see the logic in it, but nobody produces a box unlike Apple. That's an opening experience in itself.
Oh yeah.
I just wonder if it does it here.
The difference is the product inside it's quite good. Hella don't do that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, talking about boxing, this impressed me. This came from, I had to order this from China. This has taken nearly 8 weeks to get to me. Bronco have brought out the Chinese. Oh, I'll go big.
Nice.
Yeah, they have.
Oh, it's a rocket.
Yeah. Honestly, I bought this 2 months ago. It finally arrived today. Hang on, let me go on big screen a minute. But I was more impressed with that. That's it there, the Chinese space launch vehicle by Bronco.
Nice.
I was more impressed with the way the box opens. It's just
Brilliant, isn't it?
look at that.
But look at all the packaging. Look how it's stored. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I would take out the box yet, but you can. That is how it is. It goes in.
Well, that's very similar to now how the new Revell boxes are.
Is it?
In that, yes, because they had them at Hailsham, along with the Meteor and everything.
Yeah.
See now this proves the case in point, really. So that's quite an obscure subject, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is what manufacturers are up
It's
against.
done that unscheduled disassembly.
So the Meteor is much more of a mainstream subject, but at least two of us in here have said that's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But that, as obscure as it is, that's my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So manufacturers are up against it, trying to hit the right point when they're developing kits and everything else, because everyone's got such a diverse interest in the hobby that they are up against it. Definitely. If they release a boat, they know everyone's going to buy it.
I would say it's one of the hardest things in trying to get stock for a shop, because you've got a limited amount of space to put things. You have your own preferences, which you have to try and put out of your mind completely. And then you've got to think, well, what are people going to be interested in? What sort of breadth of product do you have? What do you have? The wild and wacky? Do you have the run of the mill? Is it just Spitfires? Is it,
it's very difficult. Very difficult.
And I think the only thing you can do is you have to throw stuff at the wall and keep continual rotation, because then you've got a reason for people to come in and have a look at what is new, what is unusual, what is coming up.
So wild and wacky definitely sticks, because we kept a lot of wild and wacky where I worked, and that tended to go well. But then you did have to have that continuous rotation of the standard stuff. So like with the Meteor, for example, okay, I would say when you look at it online, the sprues and that and the pictures, it looks fairly good. You go, oh yeah, that's not bad. It doesn't really swing you. Whereas I have to say, so like for example, the engine doesn't look that great, sort of on the sprue itself. But Luke had two built examples, and them sitting on the trolley was like, oh wow, that's pretty special actually. That's pretty cool having that.
So from a retail point of view, and this is something I've been in discussions with a close friend of mine who's just opened a bricks and mortar store. He's an established business, but his first bricks and mortar store. If you've got a product, say the Meteor, let's use that as an example, in the box on a shelf, but next to it or in a display case somewhere, you've got a built one, built to a good standard, painted, etc. Does that perhaps swing someone?
Absolutely.
To buy the product because they can see it built and they go, I want one of those.
100%.
Yeah.
So one of the things that gets people into the shop more than anything else is in the window, I have things like, I've got the 124 scale Spitfire. That's usually what people stop and look at, and then they'll come in. And I've got other models there. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I discussed that with him because his business is very well established. Has always been online. It's got a website. It's always been online, does very well, provides him with a very good living. So now he's opened a bricks and mortar shop. But what he's done, because he's got the real estate within the shop to do it, so he's put in a 6 foot by 6 foot gaming table. So if people want to play Warhammer, because he sells Warhammer stuff as well, they can. He's also got an airbrush station with all the airbrushes, the spray booth, everything there, so people can go in and use it. He can show them how to use the paints, the airbrush, etc. He can turn the gaming table into a build station, so he can have 6 people sat round building. Except, I think that makes a massive difference to sales because people can do it, see it. Yeah, it makes a big difference.
It's one of the hallmarks of a specialist retailer, I think, rather than somebody who simply moves boxes. And the built model thing, it's something that stood out when I walked into your shop, Alex, that is you had built models there. And as knowing you as a modeler as I did, I would have been surprised if you hadn't done that. And the first thing I was going to say was, when that came up was, I bet you can tell us what the difference it makes. And it does, I'm sure. Different.
It's also somewhere to put your models, which is
absolutely.
There is that. Yeah.
I've always said that growing up as a child, going to model shops, even though I was going in to buy scale model kits, the window always had a railway in the window.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
It's because it's moving.
Yeah.
If anything's going to attract you and you're
It's
not
moving.
looking for a pair of boobs, that is the thing. That's going to draw you in. Something moving. And that's what I did when I was a kid. You know, something's got to catch your eye. You know, I remember going to a place in Southport, and the reason I walked in, I didn't even know it was a model shop that sold Airfix kits or anything. I walked in because it had like a radial control paddle boat in the window, and I just thought it was radial control, and it wasn't. So I got in there. That what drew me in, and then I saw that they had Airfix kits, so I bought a few. I think, you know, the shop window is there for a purpose, and it is. And a lot of model shops underuse that window.
Yeah. I mean,
they put an Airfix sticker and a Tamiya sticker in it. That will do.
Yeah.
You know, normally you get all the note that says 2 children at a time, please, only with an adult. You know what I mean? I was really going to bring them in. You know, there's no margins.
The local model shop I use, and I'm very, very lucky. It's only about 10 miles away. And it's kind of, the business is kind of split into 3 basically. So RC, scale modeling, and model railway.
Yeah.
So, and it's all kind of sectioned off within the shop itself.
Yeah.
Now, I have no interest in model railway. It's not my thing at all. However, in the window, they've got this massive layout. Now, I've been looking at that layout almost on a weekly basis for about 15 years. But it never ceases to make me stop and look.
Yeah.
Every time I go in the shop, because it's moving and it's alive, and it always makes you stop and look.
But the other thing as well is a window should give you inspiration as well. In terms of when you look at something, you should go, "Oh, can I achieve that? Oh, I'd like to do that." So again, that's the idea of having a physically built model. So like the one Helsham with the Meteor was unpainted, but it was the actual model assembled. And Luke was talking about, you know, how quickly he had, you know, done all of it, how quickly he built it. And there were 2 bits. There was the full model built, and then there was effectively the nose section and the cockpit section. He had put the whole cockpit and nose section together in about 45 minutes. And the amount of detail on parts you saw on that, most people stop and go, "You did that in 45 minutes?" And he went, "Yep, there's only glue on this, there's no filler." And again, by having the model bare, actually showed people that the tooling lines up beautifully. There isn't need for a great big smack of filler in certain areas, because you could look. You weren't necessarily allowed to pick the model up straight away, but you know, if you wanted to, Luke could hold up, show it, and there's no filler anywhere, and all the panel lines are sharp. Everything is to the point. And I would probably say when you actually see it in person with their plastic rather than sort of online, where obviously it's had a white flash go off in it.
Yeah,
the detail's really subtle. And again, how Luke was explaining with the engines of that, if you can either build it where you have the minimal detail in the front, which is simply effectively, I think you need the front and the side pieces to make sure you're not looking through a hole in the wing. Whereas if you build it as a full engine, it is a little work of art, and they have done that as a separate sprue. And that was a decision I think they took back in after Telford, because when I was talking to him then, they were still deciding, oh, should we do it on a separate sprue, should we not? And yeah, even if you bought the little Derwent engine on the little trolley, so it would be a lovely little kit, even for 20 quid or whatever, you know, whatever they want to charge. It would just be a lovely little thing to have on the side.
Yeah, I get that very much so. Right, let me just close this window down here. The next thing I saw that really got the juices flowing was here we go, talking Russian here, but it could be anything, is this one here. Clear Proper brought out the Big 19, and wow, it does look a little bit special. Airfix released
my cup of tea.
Yeah, I think Airfix released the MiG. Did they do MiG 19?
MiG 17.
MiG 17.
That was a tiny little piece. That was a nice little build as well. They've put on the website some cracking schemes.
Yeah.
Poland was a nice scheme. Czechoslovakian. That's the box art for it. €38. So what's that then? £32 for a 72nd scale though. So it's up there. I thought it was a bit rich, to be honest. 32 quid.
There's going to be photo etch and stuff in that, surely.
Yeah.
Etch masks.
And if you know about ClearProp, you know you're getting a premium product.
What I was going to say it's got 10 sprues in this box for 1/72 scale plane.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's a tube with wings. You know, there's going to have to be a lot of little. We got wings come in 10 parts or something. Do you know what I mean?
Didn't you make that mistake with the submarine, Mars, and said it's just the tube?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, the Airfix one was a bit different because it was 3 parts to make it into it wasn't just 2, was it? It was 3 parts. Buggers.
For me, €38 is a bit rich for, as you say, the MiG 17. I mean, 15, 17, 19, 21. They were all basically a tube with slanty wings on. Yeah, I think for me it doesn't have the interest. I have paid €38 or more for a 1/72 scale kit, but they tend to be those unusual things, like a Luftwaffe 46 weird thing or Fokker-Gillis thing or whatever. It will undoubtedly be beauties, as Luke said. ClearProp, they make really nice stuff.
Yeah.
But for this, I'd be looking at I'd rather build a MiG-19 in 48 scale.
My point is that it's either 32 or 35 quid against the euro at the moment. This, right? What was the Lancaster bomber from Airfix? Wasn't that £34 for a Lancaster bomber or a Wellington? In that size,
$39.99, I think. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, it
is a bit bigger than a big 19, though, isn't it?
Exactly. There's a lot of plastic in that kit for 30.
I mean, but I don't think you're comparing eggs with eggs there.
Okay, I know I'm not. I'm just putting out the fact that size-wise, it's all about
I think ClearProp would certainly sell a lot less of these than Airfix would sell of their Lancaster.
Okay.
Definitely. But I think the people that are going to buy this at that price they kind of know what they're getting. Does that make sense? So they're willing to pay that little bit more. Would it do well in Alex's shop, for example? I don't know. Does Alex have many sort of customers that go in that are perhaps more experienced, very niche type modelers, or does the Lancaster do better because it's more mainstream? It's a better price point. It's recognizable instantly. The brand is recognizable instantly. These are all factors, but ClearProp, I don't think, are aiming at that market.
As you say, I think you're talking 2 different markets as well, like Luke says.
Yeah.
One's very mainstream. This, I mean, the MiG-19 is not a small aircraft anyway. It's quite a big airframe, but for that, I would say instead of sort of the general commercial market, you're looking at the people who buy like the Edouard Profi Pack ones, where you've got everything in, and the Edouard Profi Pack ones are always expensive. I mean, even this week, AZ model have jumped on that with their premium. I mean, they've got a 72nd BF109A, so the very original version with, I think, masks and maybe a little bit of photo etch, and that's 19 quid. And the BF109A is a dinky little aircraft. I mean, I might buy it because it's an A version and there's not many of them. But again, that's the sort of way companies are slowly creeping towards, because they've seen Edouard do so well with their Profi packs and going, hang on, actually, could we charge premium for this?
It's also, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that they look at, can we charge a premium for it? I think a lot of these smaller companies, I mean, the investment that ClearProp will have had to put in to make this, they have to recoup that.
Yeah.
So there's 2 ways they can do that. You make something popular and try and minimize your costs as much as possible, or you make something niche and you make it the best kit of it there is. This is the Qatari model, if you like. And this is what ClearProp are doing. I can almost guarantee you will not find a better 1/72 scale kit of a MiG-19 than this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will state
everybody that wants that will go for it.
But then again, look at that photo etch though. That's some tiny little bits of photo etch on there. You've got your belt straps and everything on there, but there's some tiny fucking bits there, man. That'll put me right off.
And that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's very niche. Because for a lot of people, as you just said, Mars, that photo etch and the size of it and everything else would be an instant put off. For you buying this kit. For me, or someone else like me who models in a similar way would go, I want that kit, because that's going to be a good, as Alex said, it's going to be the best 70-second scale MiG-19 kit that there is. There's no, it will be.
Yeah, but that's not very hard, is it, Luke? Because it's a very underrepresented model subject anyway.
Well, and that's clever.
What is out there? But what is out there is pretty terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is I know we're saying, but I'm just looking at some of the bits that are on this sprue here, incidentally, right? This is sprue. You got these tiny little nubbins on the top. Surely that should be, I'm just putting it out there, molded onto the frame already. You don't need to glue these buggers are going to just fly off everywhere. You're going to lose these bits. And that's what I'm saying about complexity. Just because they've made, these things should be molded on. And we're going to talk about this a bit later with the Airfix Stalwart, there are designer choices here. And you've got all these little bits here. And I know damn well, and I reckon Nigel will back me up on this, these are the sort of things that should be molded on, not added as a part. Is that not a fair assessment on this? They've overcomplicated the bit.
To be honest,
it's horses for courses, isn't it? So you would hate that. I personally would hate that. Some people were like, "Oh, this is great. They've got the."
I'd like that.
I'd like that.
That's right down the street. I'll guarantee that. I mean, that it would make it easier to paint all those parts before you put them on the kit, wherever they are.
Exactly. So some people, and this is the beauty of the hobby because it's so vast. Some people, and I'm middle of the road if you like, but some people. So, example, you could go out and buy a Tamiya 35th armor kit.
Yeah.
Build it out of the box. You'd have it together in a weekend. It looks like what it's supposed to be, although the aficionados would question certain details, etc. Or, for a similar sort of price, you could go out and buy a Meteor 35 scale kit.
Yeah.
But some people, like me, I like the challenge of the Meteor kit.
Yeah.
Is it over-engineered? Absolutely. But I like that challenge.
But do you know what though, Luke? I think that is I class that as cutting your nose to spite your face, because you ask anyone about that Stuart that they brought out.
Yeah.
I've asked people about it and I say to them, Airfix have got one, Academy have got one, I think Tammy have got one. And you ask somebody about it, would you build the mini art one? Oh no, it's overcomplicated, isn't it? Yeah. So if they didn't make it so obviously overcomplicated, they would sell more.
But then it's their USP, isn't it? Their unique selling point for mini art is that it is over-engineered. That like clear prop in this case of mini art, and for example in the ships, I would say Pontos. They cater to the people who like to over-engineer. They're mechanically minded. They want a museum level model. It's the challenge of it. I mean, I hate Pontos with a passion. I think, for example, like Nigel doing all the photo etch is mad as anything.
Yeah.
But I can't. I'd rather have it 3D printed than simply do the railings.
I'm somewhat baffled by Pontos because they've got no development skills whatsoever when it comes to building up boxes. They're welding 6 panels to make a box.
Yeah, it's not right. It is over-engineered like hell, but it's like there's a market for it though, and I think again this is what clear prop mini art they're doing. There's such a difference in the market from who don't want to do it to I want the hardest problem on earth.
Can I ask a question? Do clear prop have any association with Dora wings?
Not that I know
Oh,
Same country though, isn't it?
Only they're in the same country.
of. I mean, they may do. I don't think it's common knowledge.
They may get the tooling made by the same company.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a hobby boss trumpeter relationship.
No.
They just
No.
happen to be the same.
But it depends on it's the challenge. Some people like that, others do not.
Yeah.
So I've just, in fact, it'll be finished tomorrow, put together the Panzer 4 Aus G from Tamir in 35th scale. I've built it completely out of the box. Oh no, I haven't. I added some wiring, but other than that, it's completely out of the box. No, base as such, anything out of the box. It's a lovely, lovely kit, right?
Yeah.
It goes together flawlessly. Everything fits, but the end result for me is quite underwhelming because it hasn't really provided any. I've not really had to think about it. It's not given me the satisfaction that a mini art 35th kit finish when I finish that.
Yeah.
But everyone's different. For some people, they don't want that. They don't want to be bugging about with Pontos photo etch for months on it to create a box.
But also, my point also is that they've gone and put photo etch in here, right, on parts that I would expect them to have molded in plastic.
But then there will be lots of other.
But sometimes I think photo etch looks worse than plastic because it's.
But then also it could be a cost implication on the tooling.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at.
A small company.
Just because it's photo etch doesn't mean it's going to look right. And I think that's what people. I think a lot of the Chinese manufacturers use photo etch to do that. To cut a corner.
I think if you looked at what photo etch was supplied there, it was basically seat belts and I think a couple of little strakes, which are probably difficult to mold straight in plastic.
Flat surfaces sort of thing,
Yeah, wing fences.
So, I mean, to me, that actually looks like a reasonable photo etch fret.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if you get the Gerald off,
it does look reasonable.
Yeah, it looks real. If you get Nigel's, for example, the Gerald R4 photo etch there, it's just ridiculous. There's just too much of it. And that's what puts me off buying that kit. And like you say, Mons, they don't provide the plastic in there. You have to use the photo etch. And for me, that's a big turn off. I don't mind this. There's possibly this is added detail, and hence you're paying a higher premium. But I can't bear kits where they substitute it now completely.
Yeah, but that's what's been the problem with Thunder models, isn't it?
Yeah.
We said this from the very start. I know Nigel said that it's not too bad, but to have to on that tractor bend it in 3 ways to get that curvature right. I know I wouldn't say I'm experienced. I love building models and I've built models. I think I'm up there with being a good modeler, not an exceptionally good modeler, but a good modeler. But they are, you get that bend wrong. You try and bend photo etch back when you've done it wrong. It's an absolute. It tends to snap. That's the problem. So you got to get it back.
When you say bend photo etch back, it depends on what brass the photo etch is made from.
Yeah, true.
Because they could have picked up a load of stock that comes from cheap metal stock that comes from the factory, and they don't know whether it's a hard brass or an annealed brass. Annealed brass will be brittle.
Yeah.
So as soon as you bend,
therein lies the challenge.
A hard brass or brass and those kind of materials do what is called work hardening. So when you bend them, they become brittle. And when you anneal them, which is to heat them to a cherry red and then quench them in cold water, they then gain their open dendritic structure again. And this allows them to be bent again.
But you can't do that if they're painted. That's what we're trying to get at.
Right. No, indeed. So you have to do your bend and get it right before you do that. And if you bend it wrong, then you anneal it, bend it back, and then anneal it again, and away you go. It's fiddly and it's, forgive me, bloody difficult, but that's the only real way of doing it. Most,
You're
That's a challenge.
Therein lies the challenge, which some people that build models relish. They relish that challenge. They relish because they will achieve something if they get it right. They will achieve something that perhaps 80% of other modelers either don't want to do, or they're going to get it wrong.
But if you get it wrong, it's an expensive fucking mistake, though, because of the price.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But then that's a challenge.
And if I like the challenge of getting it right, but I'd throw more away than I finish. Because most of the time I get it wrong.
You do heart bypasses in the back of your ambulance. I expect you to be able to do this. So you know what I mean?
We definitely don't do that. But
possibly, but
I know that I'm better at using photo etch now than I was 10 years ago. And if I continue to challenge myself and learn the skills, as Zinzan said, things like kneeling and all that sort of stuff, if I continue to try and push yourself to learn the skills to get better at it, then in 10 years from now, I'll be better than I am today.
Yeah. And it's a spectrum because
for me is a massive part of the hobby, but not for everyone. It's not for everyone.
Because there are people at the other end of the spectrum who will buy a 1970s like Frog or Novo kit, and then they will scratch build the absolute bejesus out of it to produce something to the same sort of standard we're talking about with the resin and the photo etch.
Yeah,
and that's their challenge. And one end, then you've got all of this kind of kit at the other, and then there's a spectrum all in between with probably out of the box Tamiya right in the middle.
There's quite a decent sized community in the aircraft building world. Scale Scriber is probably the most well known, but they will do exactly that. They will get a 1950s, 1960s kit, they'll put it together, and then they'll sand the entire thing completely flush, and they will rescribe every single panel line, every single rivet. It takes years sometimes to put together a 48 scale aircraft. Now that is way beyond, firstly, what I want to do, and secondly, way beyond my skill set. I can't do that. And I have no interest to learn how to do it.
Exactly. And you could say to those people, well, why didn't you just buy the Tamiya kit?
Yeah.
Because it's not a challenge.
But then it's a bit like me, for example. I'll take the Tamiya ship, so like the King George V, for example. Yeah. It builds lovely. It's a great little kit. It goes together really well. And then I decide and go, no, I don't like that. I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to change this, and I'm going to make it into several what ifs. And for me, that floats my boat. But I can't expect a manufacturer ever to go start making kits. So there's a possibility of what ifs. Make it easier for me.
Because I
just have to learn it. Yeah.
As a commercial entity, as a business, as a manufacturer, they are unable to produce a kit that is going to satisfy every single modeler. They can't do it. So they have to go with almost the majority, or people like ClearProp who are aiming their products at a particular section of Model Factory Heroes, another one if you're into that sort of stuff. You're talking £600-700 for an automotive kit that will take you a year, even if you know what you're doing. It will take you a year plus. You're going to have to go out and buy specific tools to build the kit. But some people relish in that. Other people will go and buy a Tamiya car kit and they'll put it together, rattle pan it, and it's done in a month.
Yeah, I would suggest
they'll probably win a model show with it. Like, you know what I mean? With a rattle pan.
Now if it's next to a Model Factory Hero kit, they won't.
No, I put my Dragostini Mustang in. I tell you, try and put that one off the model chart, when that's finished. Right. Next on the list, which James has given me, is the Gecko announced a brand new British infantry tank Matilda Type 1. I think I've built 4 Matildas over the years. I'm trying to think. Tamiya do one. Airfix.
Tamiya do Matilda 2. Yeah, they were Mark 1. And Mark 1. The Mark 1 is a little bit more unusual.
Yeah.
It looks
I
completely
think
different.
this is the first one kitted in this scale. I think
Yeah.
the Matilda one.
I think it is, yeah.
Just trying to think. Well, I've done a Matilda 1 in...
2.
Who did the
The
Matilda
Matilda
1
2
in
is
70
definitely quick.
seconds? Who did the Matilda 1 in 70 seconds?
Nobody.
Was it 148? I thought Tammy did one in 148, the Matilda 1.
I think it was
No, it didn't.
Fujimi.
Fujimi!
Fujimi did
Might be
one.
Fujimi. Yeah.
If it was Fujimi, it'd be 76, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Again, photo etch, bastards. All over this kit. I'm joking. All right, don't unsubscribe.
I'm not
It's
what
funny,
you're trying to
it's
say,
funny.
Mark. Honestly, speak clearly, mate. Say what you mean, old friend.
It's actually
it's
looking
funny.
a really nice kit, to be fair.
Yeah.
If you look underneath,
my
though,
cup of tea, like.
The Gecko
that-
stuff is always been pretty good at the minute.
there's a lot of photo
And
etch.
they do produce subjects that either are not produced at all by other manufacturers, or there's very minimal,
Yeah.
subject matter. They tend to go a bit left of field, but produce some really interesting stuff.
Well, I think Gecko has a partnership, I reckon, with Old Tiger Hobbies.
Could be.
Because knowing old Gary there, I can remember when Gecko first started up. I'm thinking how it was about 4 or 5 years ago now, is it? Probably that.
Yeah.
And they did obviously a couple of British infantry sets, like modern infantry, and then they came up obviously with the the KT ambulance. That there was a clash with obviously Airfix, but they provided definitely not the Queen, but the Queen figure.
And
And
I've built both of those kits, the Airfix one and the Gecko one. And it's back to that challenge. The Gecko one is certainly a more challenging build. There's more detail, definitely. And things like having, so on the KT ambulance, the cab doors, you can, on the real vehicle, they could have been canvas, for example. Well, the Gecko kit gives you the opportunity to build it with those canvas doors back. The Airfix one doesn't do that. It doesn't give you that option, so you'd have to go down the scratch building route, the 3D printed route, etc., etc.
And doesn't the Gecko one? Doesn't the Gecko one give you the polythene windows as well, like the roll up or something? Because I can remember Gary telling me that, going, "Oh, the Airfix one doesn't have this, but we do."
Yeah.
And again, looking at that was like that from a selling point of view. When we were selling it, it just made that. By the way, you can do this with the kit, and it's already included. You don't need the extra.
Do you know what though? I felt I'm going to go the other way because I think Gecko produced the kit and the price between the Airfix one and theirs was about £4. The Gecko one was about £4 more expensive than the Airfix one.
Yeah,
but Airfix paid a lot of money to use the branding of that kit. They paid a license to I can't remember what the company is now.
SIAC.
That's AIC.
SIAC. It's a Chinese automotive company that got the Austin name.
So when people were comparing that, actually Airfix bought the rights to use that name. And Gecko didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're talking about two. We won't get into geopolitics, but Airfix is a British stand-up brand.
Yeah.
And therefore it will pay as a company for licensing, etc., etc. When you're talking about manufacturers that aren't in the UK, they're not under the same scrutiny as a British company. So therefore, what they decided to do was not pay the licensing to call it a particular thing.
Yeah.
And therefore that enabled them from a business point of view to provide more options to the modeler.
But what I was just proving, I was just trying to defend the Airfix mantra here. That the pricing shouldn't have been that close together, but it was in fact that Airfix paid a lot of money, you know, and people go, "Oh, look at this! You get so much more with the Gecko kit." Now, fuck off, you know. You know, I bet they didn't ask the Queen to put themselves in there, you know, because that would have, you know, you can't do that. You know, you can't put the Queen's face or a Queen model on something without their permission, you know. So, you know, I'm just saying, you know, Gecko were playing with fire on that one, but I was just trying to defend Airfix on the pricing of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll notice that it never gets used again. So,
yeah. From a modeler's point of view, I don't really care.
Yeah,
the Airfix have done the right thing. What I care about is what's in the box when I open.
Yeah, but what I mean is that, but the price wise though, you would think, oh, there's the Airfix one, whatever price that was, and you got the Gecko one £4 more, and you've got all this.
Yeah, but I think Moses, any reasonable person or modeler would understand that's what's happened. So I mean, when we were selling it, we didn't have anyone begrudge Airfix for charging X amount because, you know, there's only £4 in it.
Yeah.
People were well aware of the fact that Airfix had paid the license fee effectively.
No, they weren't. No, Ben, no. Because I was seeing loads of comments. So I'm being. This is why I'm saying it now. At the time, people were ridiculing the price of that ambulance because of what was in the box for Gecko. And it wasn't until we found out that they went around the licensing thing by calling it some crappy fucking name. And they've done it with the Land Rover as well, haven't they?
Yeah,
you know,
but
come on.
They call the Land Rover a Laundry Rover. Laundry Rover.
But there again, Moz, that's
outside of the modelling world for a second.
Yeah,
there are lots and lots of products that are produced in certain countries that aren't the UK or the States or that are subject to this level of scrutiny. There's lots of products, and I would defy anyone really to say they haven't got some of these products in their house that are something, but they're called something slightly different in order that the company doesn't have to pay a licensing fee.
Yeah, I get that.
It doesn't have. So it's inevitable that will bleed into the hobby. And Gecko played a blinder, really. I've built both. The Airfix kit is a lovely kit. It's a lovely build.
Yeah.
The Gecko is a lovely kit. It's a lovely build. They're just different. They require a different approach.
Okay. That's right. I was just putting out my, I know. Fit. That's right. Anyway, going back to this tank anyway. It does look a bit proper, this actually. God, give him his due. Look at that. Look at the running gear and all this. That does look a bit tidy, that, doesn't it?
Yes.
I'll definitely be buying that.
So will I, because obviously it's a early war, World War II tank.
Yeah.
And it was basically it slowed the advance into the German advance into France.
Yeah. So and again, there it is. So James is going to buy it because of the historical reference of the vehicle. For me, I didn't even know that. But looking at those pictures from a modelling point of view, there's a lot you can do with that. There's a lot of weathering. There's a lot of stuff you can do because the manufacturers are giving you that canvas. So you can do a lot with it, which is why it would appeal to me. James is absolutely going to get it because the historical.
It's quirky.
That particular vehicle.
Yeah, it's definitely
Quirky's a good. That's actually a good shout. Quirky. That's a good. Yeah, it is. I just think they've done a good job. Look at the interior here. Looking inside, you know, it does look a bit special. I
think they've had CAD scans from the tank museum to get that level of detail because the tank museum got one.
Yeah, they have got Bovington.
Well, Bovington will show you anything, won't they?
More or less. Unless it's in the restoration hall now, but otherwise they would.
And I'll absolutely have this in the shop, but I have no interest in making one myself.
There you go.
Nobody's mentioned any price on this one. What do you reckon? 45, 50 quid?
Yeah, I reckon it'd be around the 50 quid mark.
I think it'd be about $39.99.
Yeah.
It's not a large tank.
No, which is a bargain. If it's sub £40, albeit by a penny, that's a bargain.
Yeah, I mean that's where I would be aiming to sell that at that price, because at 40 quid you go, oh, that's got a lot of detail for 40 quid. Whereas, but when you build it, it's not obviously massive. Whereas if you start charging 50, 60 quid for it, you start going, yeah, it's really nice. But it's
I just want to know is why they've used Queen Elizabeth as the figure in this one as well.
Because they've got the mold.
They got the mold. It doesn't look like Queen Elizabeth. Seriously, look at that face.
Yeah.
To be fair, it was never said it was Prince. It was just said British princess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there were so many of those.
Right.
But historically, it's absolutely right, because at the time she was.
Yeah, she was that age.
They're doing a bit of a Revell here, aren't they, by using famous people's faces in random boxes?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, that tank is really small. It's probably not much bigger than the Panther 1.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
It is a
and it's called Dreadnought. That's a bit ironic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Matilda 2 was a completely different tank because it could. The Matilda 1 couldn't take anything other than that machine gun, which was.
Who's is it Tiger Hobbies that are the importer of Gecko models?
Yes, yeah, it'd be Tiger.
Yeah.
I don't have a price for it yet, so.
Okay.
This only came out the announcement.
Moving on, we've got this one.
I haven't got a price for it yet.
No, I've not seen. Well, I spoke to Russell this week actually. From Jad Lamb.
They've probably got stock of it already.
Yeah, well, you know, that wouldn't surprise me. But fair play to them. If they can get hold of the stock, then why not? You know. Here you go. This will be yours as well, wouldn't it, Luke? You'll probably build this one, won't you? The
Jad Lamb have got a price.
Yeah, I think what they got.
According to this, £9,999.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I know. And do you know what? Right, just go to Apple Pay and pay for it, mate. It goes through. Don't worry about it.
Have a couple of beers.
Have you been hacked, Yeah. Right, Horton 229B. Lovely kit looking. Look at this.
Oh my God. This is their what if.
Yeah, this is their what if, isn't it? Yeah. But wasn't who else was doing this? Or was it? No, it wasn't. It was who else doing a what if the other day?
Tacom.
Oh, I can't remember now.
Tacom was.
Tacom, wasn't it? Yeah. But look at the detail on this, man. Honestly,
so this is the same price as the Revell first edition Meteor, and same scale. So.
But that wouldn't float my boat in the slightest.
There you go.
No, I wouldn't float my boat either.
Whereas me, I'm all over this.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I mean, I like the jet engines, but I don't like the frame. I don't mind German stuff from, sort of like Luftwaffe 46 or whatever. But just for me, that amount of detail, I've really got to, when you get to 32nd, not so much 48, but certainly 32nd and bigger, I've got to really love the subject to have it somewhere because it just is going to take up loads of space. And a Horton for me, just no. It's like, yeah, it'd be great in 72nd, but
straight away I'm looking at that and thinking I will buy and build that kit, but I'll probably stop at that stage.
Yeah,
you won't put the skin on though.
Say again.
You wouldn't put the skin on it.
No, I think I'd leave it exposed with all the frame.
Or maybe set up like a dio, right? You could have the
couple of mechanics
separate and stuff.
Maybe put like half the skin on, half the skin off.
I believe it has clear exterior.
Yeah,
there you go.
For some parts.
I think
that's crazy.
Luke would be out to knock himself out doing plywood for the wings.
I wonder what Nigel would do with that.
Yeah, it says here exactly that.
Clear.
Alex, it's a plastic model kit including 2 color molded parts, clear and grey, but 369 parts, 2 decal sheets, 1 masking seal.
Shipping price.
14,000 yen.
Yeah, what's that?
It's roughly £120 RRP.
There you go.
64
but you've got less parts than the Meteor.
120. 119.99.
Hang on, no, it's not. I've just done it. Here you go.
We just divided by 100 here for dollars. So yeah, it'd be about 140.
Yeah, but you can't just take the yen price and do that, because that doesn't have transportation, import duty, all of that. I can tell you it's £119.99 RRP in the UK.
It'd be at least.
I'm just saying that according to that website.
Yeah. If you go to Japan and you pick it up, you can get it for that
Japan,
price.
you could pay £70 for it.
Yeah.
Wow. But, so there you go. So that's going to be about 120 quid retail, right?
Yeah. So you'll be able to pick it up about 100.
So that's a similar price point to that Revell Meteor.
Yeah, and the same scale as well.
Same scale, same price point.
But how's it got a fucking book? It's the book that puts the
But there's a lot of people that are gonna, if they're gonna spend
that kit actually builds the Ayers version as well.
Hang on, James. Luke was speaking.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are willing to shell out 100-ish quid on a kit, they're gonna buy that.
Yeah.
Can I just say, Tsukimura hasn't got photo etching, though, is it? It's all plastic part, isn't it?
You can buy additional parts for it.
You can.
But it's all plastic, isn't it? Tsukimura. They do it right with plastic all the time, don't they?
I can honestly say, if no one has built a Tsukimura kit, it, without shadow of doubt for me, Tsukimura are by far the best, most pleasurable kits to put together.
Okay.
They're phenomenally good. Their instructions are fantastic. The plastic is fantastic. The fit, there's just nothing wrong with them. But that's what you're paying for.
I mean, I would love to do one of
pay that for no photo etch. Sorry. Go on, Ben. Carry on.
No, I was just saying, I really like the look of their Phantoms, for example, that Tsukimura do. But I would want a Royal Navy or an Air Force, like RAF Phantom. I don't like generally the Japanese or the American ones. But I appreciate how, as you say, Luke, when you look in the kits and then you work out the price, you go, this will just be beautiful to build. And I mean, like even at that, I can appreciate the beauty of it. That is a museum level model.
And that's probably where I would leave it.
Oh, I would. If I was going to buy it, I would actually do that and have the wings on a separate thing. And I might even scratch build a truck or something, or pallets to put them on with the dio.
Okay.
That is just
with the wings next to it and what have you. But that as it is there on a nice gloss black plinth would look amazing.
So Moss, I've just sent you 3 pictures in Discord of additional pieces that Zokamura sell for this kit that are going to be released. I can't share the original document because it's got all the pricing and stuff. It's not something I could share, but that's all of the additional pieces you can buy on top of that kit. If you feel that wasn't detailed enough.
But my point is, I was trying to get at
little fingers afterwards. But
I'm just going to say this now, right? If Tsukimura can do that, looking on the screen now at that image, without any use of photo etch, why can't other companies do the same?
Cost.
Is that what it is? All about the cost to make it tool it in plastic. It's cheaper to do it with the photo etch.
Well, before they have the tooling done in steel, they have so many toolings done in copper.
Okay.
To basically test everything out.
Okay.
Before Mr. Tsukimura is happy with it.
If you like building eternal parts you'll never see again, Tsukimura has you covered.
But again, going back to that point about building a kit to have in a store shop. Building a Zokamura kit and not putting the cover on. You could paint that and have it buy it, and it's like, this is what you get.
That would be fantastic. Wouldn't it?
I've got my Spitfire. I've got it with the engine cowlings off, so you can see the knurling.
It's a great advertisement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hang on, have they got? Sorry, they've got a salty preparation set and a combustion check. Oh my god!
I should say that the 229B, it actually comes with the tooling, so you can build the A version as well.
Yeah, well, they already do the A.
Yeah.
Which you can
My
probably
God, it just keeps going. Antennas, struts.
turn brass barrels for your guns.
But don't try to build it with undercarriage up because you'll end up in tears.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Scale model shop
That's interesting.
for 109.
What are we saying?
Someone just put a comment saying £107.99. So Alex is pretty much there, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'll be selling it for like 105.
Yeah, so there'll be like £7 in it between that and a Meteor.
Yeah, RRP minus 10% basically.
But it's the bird. Funny thing is that Horton 229B kit builds up almost the same with all the internal structures. It would be the best economic buy. Not sure how it builds up in fitting. So
there's the key, and Dave's absolutely right.
Yeah.
So tack-on will be cheaper. However, the instructions will be pretty much useless. The fit will be questionable, I would imagine, on quite a lot of it, and require a lot of finagling. The Zukimura kit, the instructions will be second to none. The fit will be second to none, but therefore it attracts a higher price.
Yeah. The other thing you have to factor in
for tack-on kits, that you'll need a new pair of nippers halfway through building the kit.
Did you say knickers or nippers, James?
Nippers.
Now, on this 30-second, God, Zanko.
Yeah, I've said this before a time or two, but companies have two choices. They can either be the best or they can sell the most. It's very clear where Zukimura has put their money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it's like comparing, isn't it? How many Bugatti Veyrons do that company sell? Hardly any. How many Fiestas do Ford sell?
Sell it. They don't sell any anymore.
Okay, when they did.
When they did,
However, the premium product that costs way more is second to none. Even down to every nut and bolt and everything is the best of the best. But you got to pay for it. And they're going to sell way less of those than they are of the mainstream mass manufactured product. You get what you pay for, and that's buyer's choice.
Now, in this Horton kit, do you get the engine separate on a sprue like the Revell kit? Because seeing that Jumo engine built, and for example, seeing the Gloucester Derwent engine built, that actually makes you think, do you know what? I wouldn't mind a kit on their own on the trolleys, either in 30-second or upscaled as kits on their own.
Yeah.
Normally, I have to say, it sort of nearly harks back to the day of, I think, was it Revell did the Allison turboprop?
Yeah.
Once upon a time. Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
That I've always liked, but I just thought it looks a bit rough around the edges and would actually be a very nice model to put on a desk. Whereas I quite like the idea of a 30-second engine build, or even, the Gloucester, Jumo, whatever we want to, for example, what about a Rolls-Royce Merlin? Would that actually have enough interest in the market to build? Because I quite like going to, when I go to the museum or something, going and look at the engine room, for example. It's something different, and seeing how good the injection molding can be there, or 3D printing in this case.
Absolutely.
I just think it's a nice idea.
If memory serves, with these Zukimura kits, you actually get instructions how to build up a frame for the engine.
Okay.
So you can have the engine separate
Yeah.
So it can sit on a trolley like the Revell one will be. Okay. Well, if they kitted it separately, I'd buy it.
They've done even better, Ben. They put 2 in a box and you get a free plane with it.
I know, it's amazing. It's such good value.
Right. It's, just going through. Is there any other kits that have come out this week that we want to go on before we get on to the Stalwart? I think there is actually. I think that's it. To be fair,
Go Stalwart, Moss. Go Stalwart.
Go to the Stalwart. Well,
I think it's going to be about $50 here. That's it looks like.
It's a floaty car.
Well, this one.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I should look see how much it is at Hornby. US.
It's a real life Thunderbirds vehicle.
It is.
I love it. It's my
and just
favorite.
imagine what if you take the bottom out, the top half away, what could be on the top now? Like your well-joined stuff.
Yeah. Well, I know for fact 2 of those stollies were used in a Marvel film.
Yeah.
As a Russian.
Russian vehicle. If you do a quick Google search of the Stalwart, real life Stalwarts, there's a lot of companies now that use them for exactly that's like demolition work. They're painted yellow or white or whatever, and they've reconditioned these vehicles and they're using them in a commercial way. So there's nothing to stop anyone as a modeler going, you know what, I've got a reference picture, let's go that way. And let's do it, a civil construction.
Well, at Glastonbury, they had a Stalwart there with it as a soundstage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look at the jet
nice.
website, they look like a bug, and they put the wings up, and you got like a stage on the back. Incredible.
That'd be quite a nice remodel in a couple of years, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like a civil version.
I think Airfix will definitely stay away from any Glastonbury version.
Glastonbury, yeah, I was going to say.
You think?
No.
Yeah, there's a guy in the locale of the Midlands somewhere called Mr. Hughes. You've probably heard of him. He's reconditioned several Stalwarts over the time. But he does a lot of chieftains and all sorts of other things. But he knows all about this kind of thing. So yeah, there'll be a big market for this Alvis Stalwart. No question.
Or tanks a lot as well, because that'll give Sully some ideas for weathering the Jesus out of them.
No question.
You've got trees growing out of them.
Oh,
well, I'm waiting for the Salamander box again anyway. That's no doubt going to come on that chassis.
Oh, yeah.
Saladin, Saracen, I think. Saladin? Is it Saladin?
There's about
Saracen?
6 or 7 different vehicles that use the
7,
same.
It was the Saladin, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Salamander was the fire engine version.
Yeah, the Salamander's like a fire tender.
Yeah, the Saracen. The Saracen.
Saracen.
The Sultan was another one.
What was the Saladin? Was that one? The
Saladin was a 6-wheeled armoured car.
Does that come off the same?
Yeah. A 75mm gun turret on the top.
So you can imagine that, just by, pushing some of the sprues around, you'll probably get yourself. I've done a video on it, so you want to have a look at the unboxing of the video. I've done that today, because it came this morning. I've got an issue with mine, and so I've already had a chat with Dale about it, and disappointed both of us are.
It's not the big QC, is it again?
Well, I put this
by
up.
Mr. Patel.
And so, right, so can you see on the top there? Can you see that?
Oh yeah.
The flash it is solid. So you can't sand the behind it or nothing, but check your
interesting. Yeah.
Now I said clearly, maybe they should have done this as separate parts and stick them on so that you can see through. But they haven't. But in all fairness, if they can get that right, that side, that's perfect, that side. Surely QC could have looked at. But it's one of them. But other than that, for me, the kit looks absolutely fantastic. The way it goes together is special. Some nice detail on the inside, outside. Obviously, they're going to bring a crane version at some point. Because one of the sprues is basically just the canvas roof and the pulley system. There's detail on the wheels. So if you I'll put this back on so you can see they've actually got Goodyear on the tyres now.
Have they paid a license fee for that?
No, it says good. It's not Goodyear, it's Goodyear.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
You don't think? I don't know. It
Good
could be
year.
Goodyear. But you know what? So what? Is if Goodyear's going to come after them, to be honest.
You jinxed it now.
The brake, the disc and calipers look fantastic. You've got 2 radios you can put in there, and then they tell you, which area to put which one. It's just I'm pleased with it, to be honest. And I'm just got the Spitfire on my bench. I've got 3 kits on the go at the moment now.
Question for you,
asking, so you've got this here, which is the glass, and you'll notice there that is a clear part for the exhaust, because the plastic on the clear is a lot harder. So you're able to get that checkered look to it, on that one there. So they make, I know somebody was moaning. Not moaning. They said they didn't like the fact they put the windscreen wipers on the window. What's your take on that? Because it doesn't bother me. Yeah, windows have wipers, don't they?
You can mask them. You can mask them and paint them. I did that on the ICM, the Model A.
Yeah, but my point is that people like
I masked them and they turned out great.
If I was being difficult, I'd say I wouldn't want it on the window because I'd want the challenge of gluing it on once I've painted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 2 ways of looking at that.
Yeah.
So I would imagine, from a manufacturer's point of view, that is a more cost-effective way of putting the wiper detail onto the kit.
Yeah.
You can absolutely do what John Alex said: mask it, paint it. You've got the impression of a wiper blade.
Yeah.
That from any more than 12 inches away looks fine. But I subscribe to Ben's train of thought. I would much rather, Moz is about to go pale, but I would much rather have photo etch wipers at that scale that I can put together and then add to the kit right at the end. Because they will.
Again, like Ben said, it's horses for courses, horses for courses, whatever it is.
What your preference is. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you know what? I am a lazy modeler because I want to get bothered with the painting.
If I was that bothered, then what I can do is sand the wiper detail off the clear part, repolish the clear part, bring it back to transparency, and then I can go out and buy aftermarket wiper blades in photo etch or 3D printed or whatever, and add them to the kit. If you're that bothered, but as a manufacturer, they've got to draw a line somewhere.
Yeah,
and there's not many people that enjoy putting photo etch wiper blades together at 35th scale.
Exactly, and also
it's
40 quid.
They've solved the problem at a price point that's reasonable.
And also, it's 40 quid. I don't think that's bad at all. 211 parts, skill level 3, 3 flight hours, 39.99. So, and it's straight from Airfix because at 39.99, that's free postage.
Yeah,
it's over the £30 limit. So it's I think it's a bargain, to be honest. And I don't know whether it's sold out or not yet. I'm going to find out tomorrow. I'll ask Dale if it's sold out yet. But
so the full retail's 40 quid for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I would think that. So me as someone that doesn't build specifically armor, that would be too high a price to swing. Going, I'll take a punt at it. I would, for something of that size and the fact it's an armored, it's a wheeled vehicle, not a tracked vehicle. So there's a bit more simplicity in theory. I would have thought it'd been around the 35 to 30. Whereas the 40, I think, is just a little, just as a personal choice. If I was going to take a punt at it, I would go, oh no, I'll wait for whatever the armored car version with the turret on for that sort of money.
Yeah.
And if it was any more than 40, I'd start going, probably not.
But again, and that's a really valid point for a non-armor builder. I totally get that. But the Stalwart is such an iconic vehicle, and historically, it's done so many things in its service life, and even now, it's doing lots of stuff in the civilian world. You can see why Airfix have gone that way as their first release on that chassis.
Yeah. So in that case, it has the quirky factor.
Absolutely.
In terms of a sale, it's quirky, it's niche, everyone will still buy it. Whereas for me, it's sort of someone in the middle of the road. I go, nah. But then again, I'm not that target audience. They want.
Do you know what the target? Ben, the thing about Airfix and a lot of these is that I was talking to a few folks at Tank Fest about it, and they all said the same. They would never have even thought of wanting to build a Stalwart until Airfix released a Stalwart, and now they want to build it. And you've got to remember, when it comes to pricing, the Ferret Scout is 25 quid.
Yeah.
So when you've got the size of the Ferret Scout, and that Ferret Scout will fit on the back of that Stalwart, I think 40 quid, extra 15 quid for a bigger tool, I think it's worth it.
Look at what is £40 equivalent. So the Italieri Semaventi, the Basotto has just come out. That is not actually a new kit. They say it's new. They actually mean it's got new bits on. It's a much smaller vehicle, that Semaventi.
Yeah.
So you're getting much more with the Airfix thing, and it's a brand new tooling. You know, £40 I think is the right price. If you look at AFVs, everything around that price, you know, you get more expensive stuff which is bigger or newer, you know, or more complex. You get cheaper stuff which is older and smaller. But £40 is kind of, you know, £40 RRP, so you're going to pay 36 for this basically. It's about the right price point for sure, and I think it does have that quirky factor. It's got that civilian connection. They have it so I've driven a Stalwart, but I've driven it as a civilian at a tank day. You know, like my ex bought it for me. I drove a whole bunch of stuff. I drove the Stalwart, was the most fun thing I drove that day. It was fantastic.
That would be cool.
So I'll build it purely. I would have built it anyway because it has that Thunderbirds look. But I also want to build it because
I roll in it.
So you know.
Yeah, you've got straight away. You've got that nostalgia factor, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because it revokes a memory of a good day out. You know?
Now, what would you say has the most quirky factor out of the latest two releases, the Stalwart or the TR9, i.e. the Spitfire? Because I think they both. You reckon the Stalwart? Because I think the TR9, I think's quite a blinder of a release in terms of quirkiness factor and resellability. I think the Stalwart's good, but I think what they've done with the TR9, I think just one-ups it a little bit on that because of.
I think the difference, though, is the Stalwart will appeal to people who don't have that connection. Like there are armor modelers, like with the Lysander. When they brought the Lysander out, again, I think that was really good. So John Alec here, you know, didn't know the Lysander before, saw the kit, thought, oh, that's really good. I want to build that. And I think the Stalwart has that. Yeah. Nobody is going to look at a two-seater Spitfire and think, oh, I never saw a Spitfire before. I think I'll buy it.
Yeah.
So I think Stalwart has that as well, you know.
There's quite
I was a bit surprised how many people have actually been on that train of Spitfire over the years on a flight. There's a lot of people out there, or they've bought, or there's members of the family that have,
or they'll have seen it on the news.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, the Duxford days.
Ask John Alex, have he ever heard of a two-seat Spitfire before then?
Yeah,
it's mainstream information that the two.
No, I mean I may have maybe seen a picture somewhere randomly of a two-seater. Yeah,
there are about 22 seaters in the world, and about 12 of them are in the UK, I think, and then the rest are overseas. They're all post-war conversions, with the exception of 3. One of which is a Mark 8 that's at Biggin Hill, and then there are 2 Vickers Mark 9s, but all the rest of them are post-war conversions.
Yeah.
But a subscriber to me recently looked at my review on it and said he couldn't understand the kit. It felt a bit like putting a roof rack on a Ferrari.
That's a very good analogy, actually.
which I thought you'd appreciate. But there is a fascination to it amongst
Yeah, I think there is.
all sorts. You watch people walk around them when they go to places like
Oh, for
Duxton.
sure. But my point was the Spitfire has that sort of amongst scale modelers, and a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, when are they going to do a 72nd Spitfire?" Whereas the Stalwart, I think, appeals to people who have never thought that.
It could do. I wouldn't seek to dispute
And there's
that.
from a modelling point of view, there is so much you can do with that Stalwart. Depending on what you want to do, there's so many possibilities that come with that kit. Whereas the TR9, as quirky as it is, you kind of build an aircraft and it looks like a Spitfire, and that's pretty much it. The Stalwart evokes a lot of possibilities.
Well, just to ask you, Luke, would you build the Stalwart more than once in different configurations?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Would you build the Spitfire 2-seater more than once?
No.
Well, no, because you can't do anything with it.
Exactly, and I think that's a lot of it is the 2-seater. But like Zinzan said, it's like a Ferrari with a roof rack on it. So I don't think it has that same. It has a quirkiness, but not a necessarily appealing one to a lot of aircraft modelers.
But
for
me,
this looks like a slightly ugly Spitfire. Do I want to build that?
Yeah, I would imagine, and I don't know really anything about the Spitfire other than what everyone else does. But if I wanted to build a Spitfire, like Zinzan said, I want to build the Ferrari. I want to build the single prop fighter that was cutting edge of its time and did an amazing job at what it. That's the one I want to build. I don't want to build. I don't want to build a Ferrari with a roof rack.
But then hang on.
You're only limiting yourself to about probably 12 marks of Spitfire then. If you want.
Well, there's only 12, so yeah, maybe.
There's only 12.
I mean, you'll be building at least 12.
There's different versions of the 2-seater Spitfire anyway.
Yeah, but this.
However, the Spitfire was known as this sleek, fast, maneuverable fighter.
Yeah,
that's what I want to build.
No, and that's
sleek, fast. But there are people that are interested in Spitfires that have been asking for the TR9 for a long time.
Yeah, well,
but then
it was voted as one of the top models when they did release day. So, but then the thing is, so sometimes Airfix market things really well. For instance, what have they done recently? They're doing React this year, and what are they going to be the top 5 scale model kits they're going to sell at React? That new Typhoon, the F-35B, the Spitfire, the Red Arrows. So, do you honestly think that they would have done the Lifeboat if they knew that there was some way of selling that kit? And the RNLI bought thousands of them.
Yeah. But the same can happen. But
the
for
TR9 is another one that's going to be sold at these places where they're going to be having these free.
Yeah, because what's 30 quid for someone, in terms of that?
Especially somebody who's paid all that money just for a relative to fly in a Spitfire.
But the only thing going back to the Ferrari, though, where we've talked about, the Ferrari with the roof rack. So one of the most beautiful Ferraris is the 250 that's called the bread van. It was a Le Mans car, but it is literally it's a box bolted on the back of a beautiful Ferrari. Now the TR9 is very similar to that, but the thing for me, the TR9 that makes certainly for me that go actually, I'm a shipbuilder generally in naval aircraft. I'm not really a Spitfire person, but I can already see myself doing the main colour scheme that they give in the kit, which is a Battle of Britain film aircraft, because I love that film. The second one would be either a Biggin Hill or probably a Goodwood for me colour scheme TR9, and the third one would actually be a what if navalised version for the sake of it, just because the TR9. So in terms of that, I feel the TR9. So not compared to the Stalwart, which has a lot of historical variations that are true, but I think the TR9 has a lot of, again, like any Spitfire, you could put Pokemon in if you wanted to, and you could still sell it.
Yeah.
You know, it's got that
Or do a
buildability.
Mr. Blobby on the side.
Yeah, or Mr. Blobby, or what was it, Thunderbirds, to go with your Stalwart.
But it only looks like Mr. Blobby's aeroplane, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Can I just make a ratification after just checking online? I've just had a text message.
Yeah.
The postage now is £40 free postage from Airfix.
Oh, right.
They've got new warehouses, new distribution, and the boxes are really good. Actually, they come these boxes now. Oops.
That's £40, isn't it, Moz?
Build happiness on the boxes, so everything, so all the information's on the inside. So yeah, you get these boxes that are reusable. So,
I'll tell you what, Luke Bear would love that, wouldn't he?
look at that.
Yeah. He would definitely be happy for about 27 seconds.
Yeah.
Now, call me miserable, but we've got an increase in postage to pay for printed boxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hold me back. Hold me back.
Don't say anything, Alex. Don't say anything.
Free postage over £40.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, would I rather have slightly cheaper postage for a not printed box?
No, it doesn't work like that.
No.
Well, it does, because you've got to pay for the print.
I just think that they've just redesigned the boxes so you don't have all this bubble wrap in them, and the boxes they were originally using, the company that they were using first, they were crap. Those boxes, they just fold around, didn't they? Then tape it.
Yeah.
These are proper secure boxes. I think they're quite good. They just got a bit of bump on the inside saying Hornby Hobbies. So, and when to be honest with you, when I went to price up boxes for my business to get them printed with my logo on, it was pence per box. Pence. You have a bug standard, or if you want to print it in yours, as long as you bought 5,000, it was pence in it to have your own logo on the box. But not on the outside, but on the inside. So, but yeah, anything over £40 now is free postage from.
I mean, to me, that just shows where Hornby are focusing, and it's DTC.
What's that?
To me, direct to customer.
Direct to customer.
Because obviously the trade stuff is. I mean, to be fair, I'll say this. To be fair, Dale reached out to me after my post last week on the MQS with the new warehousing and everything from Hornby. But it's a Hornby issue. It's not an Airfix issue.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes above the individual brands. But he did reach out, ask for some information to have an internal conversation. I also had retailers reach out to me saying, yeah, we don't deal with Hornby at all because of all of this stuff. They go through wholesalers and they just don't do new releases. So there's also that side of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
And moving on swiftly.
looking at that box and the printing on the inside, and it's funny in a way.
Really?
Because a lot of modelers, staunch modelers, sometimes we can have a bit of a miserable disposition.
No, really?
Speak for you.
It's quite a common character trait, and we can be quite cynical about certain things.
I can't believe
When you open a box and it says "Build Happiness," what that's telling me is that Hornby don't really have a grasp of
their target market.
Because if I open the box and it said "Build Happiness," and I'm sure that will happen tomorrow when I open that Stalwart, I'm just going to find that quite cheesy and quite.
The trouble is that you are touching such a demographic, whether it's scale electrics, trains.
Yeah, the rail model fraternity is a real
models
bunch
are any
of
fucking happier.
sunshine.
I tell you what, Luke, I should just love to send you a box with an Airfix model of in it, and on the inside of the lid it says, "Here you are, fuckface," or something.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's much more my cup of tea. But what I'll do to prove that that box will create happiness is when I open it tomorrow, because I'm not interested in the box really. The sprues are going to come out of the box. I will then give that box to the bear. For that 27 seconds that it will take him to destroy it. And I'll take a picture and then everyone can see how happy that box has made him.
Can we get a live box open reaction on camera?
Yeah,
just so we can get your face as you open it, and it's you'll watch the ray of sunshine come out and it's slammed shut.
We'll all watch it.
But isn't that always been because Airfix's actual motto is the excitement is building, isn't it? Airfix motto is the excitement is building.
So don't worry on the inside lid then,
I think it's on the yeah.
I think they were a bit slow not getting build your dreams before the car company did.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? It is what it is. It's just it's a motto, isn't it? Fucking hell, it's not the end of the world.
Because it can go 2 ways, right?
Yeah.
But
it's funny. It's funny to us because we're modelers.
Yeah.
What it does tell me, if you look deeper into it, because that will be a Hornby decision, not an Airfix.
It will be, yeah.
Is that Hornby have no grasp of the demographic that they're selling to. That's all it tells me.
And the only thing as well I would add is, like you say, their Hornby Airfix's motto is "The joy is building," which is a really good motto.
Yeah.
So why the hell would you put the bollocks of build happiness rather than your own bloody tagline?
No, but the problem is that Hornby is using a distribution company, new warehouses, new digital warehousing. That's covering 17 different brands.
Yeah, but Moz, but you as Hornby, when you employ these people, if you would either get the boxes printed brand specific or you'd have a unit. I've never heard someone say Hornby build happiness because it's a train set. Not saying that train sets make you miserable, but train sets per se as Hornby, they don't.
Like Alex said, if they think scale modelers are miserable, go to a model
railway.
Yeah, building happiness, building a happier world for us all.
Oh God!
Dude, that just makes me want to vom.
What are they doing? They're not a life sciences company. Bloody hell!
Yeah. Build this weapon of war and build a happier world.
I was about to say it's sort of
this diorama of the Ukraine to build a happier world.
Building a better world.
It says here though, if you scan that, you get 200 points.
Ooh, what?
Scan that in.
What's that? He's throwing the box away.
It's all scaled around direct to customer.
Is that like $2?
2 quid off a kit.
Way.
2.
Oh, that's not bad.
Which makes that 38 quid, and you're still not getting free postage.
Wow, that's it. Well, they changed it. But as I said, I think you go on about direct to customer. Every fucking company does it now. Whatever. Revell, you talk to any German. I
agree with you, Moss, as you know.
You talk to the German lot. They moan about it as well. That Revell are giving out big fucking vouchers and stuff to the German and French.
Yes, but
Revell do it. They're direct to customer as well.
They do, but they then offer the discounts to the trade.
Yes.
That's what they do. They offer
and they tell you when it's coming.
Correct, and they tell you when it's coming.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because they tell me.
What?
I won't.
You're in England though. You're
from Revell, Germany.
They do what's called nice price.
Yeah,
nice price.
That is literally what they call it. The Germans call it nice price. It all comes from Revell, Germany. Though you'll have there is a UK reps for Revell. I mean, the joke was with our one, we never ever saw him. We'd see him maybe twice a year, if that. But the Germans from the head office in Germany, wherever they are, would always send you the deals in advance, telling you what was coming. And if you wish to take up this deal, you would be given the equivalent trade price.
And Airfix don't do that to retailers, and they don't send out deals.
They've never done it. No, never.
No.
So, like, for example, that bundle, like for the Baton of Britain or whatever it was, where it was like from 200 quid down to like 120. That would never have been offered to the trade, because what happens at the trade is you'll just get your standard trade price off, and then Airfix will then go, oh God, we've got loads of stuff sitting in the warehouse, which again is a good point of view from their business. Goes, right, we need to dump the price on this to clear it. So the trade have bought everything at a standard price, to which the difference, so your percentage margin, you'd basically either be making no money or you'd be losing money if you were matching their pricing. And that is just not...
Airfix are pissed off because the rep has like gone, they've taken an order for, say, £500 worth of stuff, and then the next day, this happened in the Southwest, the next day Airfix put a sale on which undercut their trade price.
Yeah.
Which is basically saying fuck you to the retailer. It's like, we'll have your money and we'll fuck you as well. It's about, as I mentioned to Dale, it's about trust. I can trust every other company that I deal with. They won't do that. I can't trust Airfix. Games Workshop, right? I've got a bunch of Space Wolf stuff in the shop. I've had it for a week. It doesn't release until next Saturday.
Yeah.
So there, Games Workshop, trust me with product. I could give that out now. It's not available anywhere, and people could get that product, but that would screw up my relationship with them. But they trust that I'm going to do to that. I've only been a retailer with them since January.
Yeah.
Airfix, I don't even have a notification of my stalwarts yet.
Yeah. So what you could do, Alex, because you run a YouTube channel, etc., etc. So if you were so inclined, because that Space Wolf release next Saturday has got a lot of momentum. People are going to be queuing to buy that stuff. What you could do to increase your viewership and to increase your subscriber count and everything, now you have the stuff, there would be nothing to stop you other than trust of doing an unboxing video of these new Space Wolf stuff, and it would attract a massive audience because it's so anticipated. But the manufacturer is trusting you enough not to do that. So come Saturday, which is the official release, then you start selling the stuff. So you're absolutely right that balance of trust and that relationship is great.
Yeah,
that's important.
That's what any distribution relationship is about. It's about trust. I've worked with enough distributors in the past, and the thing is, one doesn't foster it.
Well, it's like you say, Alex, earlier about the shops that went through wholesalers for Airfix and stuff. We had a Hornby account previously where I worked. It got taken away in 2019 because we didn't buy trains, to which, as a shop that had never bought trains, was not going to be unexpected. But they went, "You don't buy trains." So we know we don't. We only do this. Well, we're not, unless you're going to buy trains, we're not going to sell to you. So we then went through wholesalers, and that's how we stuck ever since, was through wholesalers. And it wasn't until we started doing a bit of secondhand trains that Hornby then came back 6 years later and went, "We'd like to give you your trade account back now, please." And we basically said, "No, I'm afraid we've now got other, suppliers, and we're happy with them." And the shock on their face was unbelievable. But again, it's a Hornby group issue rather than Airfix, to make that very clear. But yeah, they are Hornby Group, don't make themselves popular among the trade. Great to get from a customer perspective, you get some fantastic value for money in those bundles. But from a trade perspective, it's very much rubbing it in your face and everything.
And Hornby's tagline is that they have on all of their emails. I don't know whether they do this for normal customers as well, but for trade, it is to be number one in. I can't remember what the phrasing is, but basically in hobbies and stuff. And it's like, I don't know anybody in retail that thinks of Hornby as number one. Like, they're usually the bottom of the list of suppliers. Sad to say, because Airfix, they're the first kits I recommend to people that come in the shop saying, "I'm thinking of getting back into the hobby. How it's changed." Airfix starter kit every single time. I want to buy a present for a nephew who's never done models before, he's really interested in this Airfix starter kit. So it'd be really sad. It's this strange juxtaposition where Airfix are doing all this good stuff and the team there. First person to reach out was Dale, and yet Hornby are just have these corporate policies, which, funnily enough, Games Workshop had a very similar approach around 1990, 2000. and it completely screwed up their retail business. So guess what? They completely changed it.
Do Graham's Workshop sell online then, direct to customer?
Yeah,
they do, but at RRP. They never have
so full retail. They don't discount.
they never
discount any of it.
No, never.
And they don't put any restrictions on what you sell at.
Yeah, that's the big thing. They don't say to you as a retailer, you must sell at this.
No.
Well, they
don't
can't.
do that.
They're not allowed to. It's against the law.
Well, no, it's not. For instance, with Airfix, you can't sell a new product for more than 10% discount for the first however long it is. There are restrictions which are legal.
That's unlawful. That's unlawful.
We've had this discussion before because Tamiya did all this, didn't they, a while back? We did an Airfix and Chill on it, didn't we?
They
were demanding the pricing. This is for you. If you signed a contract, you couldn't sell it.
It's part of the terms and conditions of the stock.
So, but then that goes against European court.
But that's that was in the US, not in the UK.
But what you need to understand, whether it's law or not, if someone signs a contract, that can circumvent any law. So, for example, we have a working time directive, do we not, in the UK, that is law to protect workers' rights. Yeah. However, there are certain occupations that require you to breach that law, but the only way the employer or the organization can get around that is that the employee will sign a contract to say they no longer wish to be subject to the working time.
Yeah.
So it's a very similar thing.
You basically waive your right to that.
That comes in accordance with an agreement between both the parties.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's contract of employment.
Yeah.
Right.
In the case of selling at retail, there is no agreement between the parties as such.
But there was with Tamiya because people sign a contract.
Yeah, its condition is.
Say, well, that's fine. You don't want to sign the contract. That's okay. We just won't sell to you.
That's the thing. It's condition of sale.
Against trading, and that's against the law, unless you can show that someone has a specialist.
So, are you going to be able to take them to court, Sam? You're not. It's the whole big corporation thing. So Hornby have policies. These aren't even in the contract, in the terms and conditions. They have policies. They won't give you a trade account until you place 6 orders. They don't tell you that.
Is it also true that Hornby won't give you a trade account unless you have a bricks and mortar?
Yeah, you got bricks and mortar. But I know of 2 companies that aren't bricks and mortar that get Airfix kits.
Yeah, but there you go. Proves the point, really, to some extent, doesn't it? I mean, the fact is,
no, I know because how are they doing it?
I know of 2 people that buy from Airfix direct, and they sell only online or they sell at model shows.
But how have they got that trade account? They've clearly bent the rules. They're not playing by the rules because the policy is if you haven't got a bricks and mortar shop, you can't have a trade account.
Well, also it's for Airfix to check, right?
Yeah.
So it's them not doing their due diligence.
Absolutely.
On their own policy.
I mean, I fall on the side of Alex on this one because I don't think that Airfix are running a tidy marketplace there when they can throw out a retailer in that way. I think that's quite inappropriate and wrong. Now, the retailer, by the same token, can say, stuff your pricing. I'll sell what I want to sell at.
As the company Benford did.
Yeah.
They went, well, okay, take our trade account off us. We'll go elsewhere.
That's what we did.
You could, in theory, buy from wholesaler, not from Airfix, and sell those kits cheaper.
So, for example, if we went from Airfix, there was not actually a major difference in the trade price. It was effectively the same. So we used to do our wholesaler was through Expo Tools or through Hannon's or through Tiger Hobbies. There were 3 different options. Yeah. And half the time, they actually had more stock available to us than Hornby did. Because Hornby would simply go, oh, we've sold everything outside our trade warehouse now. We've got some in our direct customer warehouse, but we won't move it over. We will keep that for ourselves. So we would have orders that we couldn't fulfill, and then we would lose the sale, and then effectively they then have to go to Hornby because Hornby would not release the stock.
And on that bombshell, it's 10 o'clock.
Which is commercial insanity. But
Well, yeah. Anyways, well, it's 10 o'clock, folks. It's 2 hours. We can talk about this all the time. And as I said, it's you know, my business is I deal online. You know, I've got a successful, you know, 6-figure business, and I don't have half these problems. But then I've still got to buy bulk. You know,
but I think as well, it's very easy.
You don't have to buy from Hornby.
It's very, yeah, exactly that. Very easy for us in the hobby when there's an issue to say it's Airfix. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's Hornby that's
Hornby.
Yeah. And unfortunately, as much as the guys and girls at Airfix want to do the right thing by their retailers, they want to do the right thing by their consumers and produce good quality kits, and they've come a long way. They're going to get stamped on at some point, as we're seeing now, by the group, by Hornby, because they're the people that are controlling the purse strings.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say don't buy Airfix. I would say do buy Airfix. Try and get it from a retailer if you can, because that will tell Hornby. Airfix is the successful, like, you know, the commercially successful, profitable part of the business, and it's going through our distribution network, not direct. You know, businesses act on money, you know, on profitability, on where the proportions are. So if customers send that message, they have to respond to it.
The only thing I'm going to say is they have spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on the Hornby scheme, the distribution. Direct to customer isn't going to go away soon. But then, are they future-proofing themselves? Are they future-proofing themselves? So when hobby shops do die, they've still got the angle of going out and
they're cutting their own throats. It's a short-term strategy, DTC, in the way that they're handling it.
And it's another beginning of a cycle that they started before they went Hornby Group as a whole. This is, you know, remember the time they moved into a great big building and then they worked out that actually, this wasn't financially a good idea. It's the start of a very slippery slope. And I think it is so important to differentiate very clearly between Hornby and Airfix. Hornby are the issue here. Airfix are doing their utmost to make the business profitable. I think, for example, by, you know, Dale reaching out to Alex, it tells you of Airfix's intent compared to Hornby, and I think we have to make that very clear. But as Alex says, the best way to actually support Airfix and to support model shops is to buy through model shops Airfix products. You know, that will send a message to Hornby Group, and also it will support any case that Dale may wish to make. But yeah, I think that's just the important bit. Not criticising Airfix, we are criticising the wider Hornby Group.
Yeah. Fair enough. For that bombshell, we're going to say goodnight. Thanks all. Thank you, James. Thank you, Zinzan. Thank you, John Alec. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, John. Thank you, Ben. We shall see you next Monday. Take care all, and good night.
Good night.